Getting audio? Okay, great. Howdy, welcome. Second week, week 2. Anybody have any questions about anything you heard, anything about your projects, individual projects, team projects, any concerns about things, any questions about sports? Okay, let me know. So today I did something new. All the administrative slides I sent to you as a PDF file. That leaves me more time to talk about some of these topics. So I encourage you to read that because it has some important information about projects and other things in there. So please do take a moment to look at that stuff. So I want to talk a little bit about the design process today because that's what Gail is going to be talking about later on, and I'm going to show how what he talks about will fit into the global design process that I like to promote. So the process is a plan of action, and it'll increase your chances of success with your project. So there's lots of design processes around. Everybody at Stanford probably knows a little bit design thinking, but that's only one of them. There's all kinds of things all over the country. They all have different names. And why are there so many? Because different people create them because that's how it fits their thinking and what they're working on. So what I'm going to talk to you about is things that may work better for an engineering mind than a designer mind, and may work better for an assistive technology student project than other kinds of projects. So I specifically want to talk, this is the list of elements of the process that I like to promote that makes sense to me. I'm going to focus in on the problem because that's what you're going to be working on. The problem has sub-activities, and I've already done the top 3 for you. I've searched for a problem, I've identified the problem, and I've described it for you. That problem description was what was in the handout for team projects or individual projects. And I want to focus my attention today on understand the problem, because that is really important. As engineers, you all know about problems, and you all have done problem solving. So it makes sense that we talk about understanding the problem. So I've searched for the problem, identified problem. I composed a problem statement that you saw in the handout that will look sort of like this with these categories. And the whole point of understanding the problem is to incorporate other people's perspectives and really understand what's going on. And you do that by talking to people and gathering information. It's sometimes called empathy, but I have had a hard time understanding what empathy was, being an engineer. And I thought it was something like this, but apparently it's a little bit more. Basically, you want to find out as much as you can about the problem, your project, and you want to talk to the user, find out their specific background and situation, and you may want to check out information on their disability that they have, because that would enlighten you as to what's going on. And this is the key thing: solicit perspectives of people with disabilities and older adults. And a good source of information are family members. Sometimes they know better about the problem than the user. Friends, healthcare professionals, colleagues, researchers, engineers, and people who make products. And me, I know a lot about stuff, so you're welcome to ask me about stuff. And so I came up with a few quotes that I think are important. This is sort of key when we talk about a user may be somebody with a non-technical background. So he or she may not have a good idea about the technology that can be a part of the solution. And in extension, they might not have a good idea on how to solve the problem. They might, they might say something like, "Oh yeah, just put the anti-gravity device over here, you know, and then that'll be fine." It's going to be a lot of it's going to be up to you to come up with a creative solution. And it's important to note that each person is different. Like I said before, people with disabilities are different. Their challenges are different. So the solution that you're going to make may help that individual, but in many cases, it may not help everybody with that same problem. Okay, so it's important that you realize that. Understand the problem. Look at literature. People have done a lot of research on all these problems. There's articles in popular media like Technology Review, Popular Science. I get a bunch of them, and I pick out maybe 3 to 5 articles about assistive technology every day. So I've been doing this for like 30 years, so I have a whole archive of articles, and I have it searchable by Google. So if you wanted to find out something about autism, you type in autism, and it comes up with all these articles from 30 years. Sometimes previous student projects in this class or other classes have addressed the same problem. And you may look in some product catalogs. I have a bunch of them linked to online. Okay, yeah, so IEEE Assistive Technology is a publication of a professional organization called RESNA that I belong to. So getting a little deeper, you may want to find out what products are already out there that solve the problem. What products are used? What is the standard of care? Even though there may be some high-tech solutions out there, maybe a low-tech one is most frequently used. It's good to know that. Why? Because the worst thing in the world for you, or any engineer or designer or whatever, is to build something that already exists. What a waste of time. I've seen projects done over and over. I mean, literally over 6 times. Exact same thing 6 times. So sometimes the only problem is a lack of awareness of a suitable solution. Many times people say, "Oh, can we do a project on this?" And I said, well look, my Google must be better than your Google, because I found, all these solutions that you may not know about. So, really look out there to find out what already exists. And you can build on that stuff too. It's important to know why the user's current solution doesn't work. It may be unobtainable because of its cost. It may be too heavy, unreliable. It might break. It might have broken. It just might work fine, but it's just ineffective for the person. All sorts of reasons. Maybe a person doesn't use it anymore because it has poor aesthetics. It labels the person as being disabled. Nobody likes that. Maybe it doesn't have the functionality to do what the user wants to do. Maybe it doesn't fit right. Maybe it broke, or maybe it's like old technology. But a counter argument is that even if you build something with new technology and stuff, a lot of people are just more comfortable with what they're using, even though something better might be available. So that's something that might crop up as well. Need is another issue, and in my mind, I've come to realize that need is a judgment, and you make the best judgments when you have a full understanding of the problem. So that's how my mind works. So judge what's needed from a full understanding of the problem. That makes sense, right? So you want to know as much as you can before you get into brainstorming. If you know a lot about the problem, then you can think of possible solutions. But it's really important not to get stuck on your original idea. Give other ideas a chance, because it may actually be better. Okay? So in brainstorming, I'm not going to go through this in any detail, but this is an opportunity for you and your team to think about all the things that you might consider as a solution. All pretty straightforward. You want to survey technology. There's a lot of stuff out there that you can bring to bear on a problem, even though it's not assistive technology. You can use it to in your solution. And I showed a picture of a couple women who use Google Glass as a way for them to have independence in taking pictures, even though this woman is a quadriplegic. Certainly, iPhone is a good platform for applications that can help people communicate via sign language. Telepresence robots, another way of communicating. And robotics in general, and sometimes you can use current technology. If you have a person that needs to turn on lights, you can just, talk to your device here, and it'll turn the light on for you. Sometimes Fitbit can be part of a solution. Sometimes a laser pointer put on a cap can help a person who can't move to point to things. Okay, so all these things. How to interact with users, and Gail will go into this in much more detail, but the important elements are observing the problem firsthand, encouraging people to talk to you, not just answer questions. And what you want to do is get an understanding of what a solution should do, but not initially how to do it, because that's part of your brainstorming effort. Okay. What's really important, I found, is coolness. Everybody wants to be cool, right? You want to work on a cool project. The person who's a person with a disability or an older adult wants to still be cool. So that should be a major component of your solution. And recognize that you may not have all the answers, so it's important to go to other people like the TAs in PRL. Talk to me. I could have a perspective on some of these problems. So please do that. And of course, the last thing is interacting with the user, the person who suggested the project, all the way through your whole project. Okay? You're going to be interacting with them, to have them test things. You'll get an idea of how well it works. What part works, what part needs improvement. So it's important to get back to them on a regular basis with each prototype, probably. The engineering design process does not include building to somebody else's vision. So, you're creative people. It's not very creative if somebody gives you the solution, the code, and tells you, build this. We're beyond that. Making an incremental improvement on something that is already out there is not appropriate either, because you just may be building on a failed product. So a lot of times you need to start over. So the project resources that you have, you got the TAs and PRL, the user, the suggester, the resource people that I talked about, and your classmates can certainly help you with stuff. So they're all part of your team. Okay? It's really important for you to make your own decisions. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I may give you suggestions or make sure you're on the right track or give you some other options, but you make your own decisions and you have to justify them too. And the justification can't be, well, the user told me to do it that way. That's not good. Don't get stuck in one aspect of the design process. It's a long process. You have to manage your time and get through the process so that you can have something that's functional in the end. I've seen people get notebooks filled of sketches and brainstorming. Every new person that they met was another opportunity for brainstorming. She never got out of that brainstorming mode. You have to go beyond that. And of course, it's not a failure if you learn something. Okay, so in summary, understand the problem, survey technology, advice for students. Again, talk to a lot of people to get a lot of different perspectives. Anticipate successes and failures. Learn from failure. Start prototyping with low-cost materials immediately. And a student today reminded me of Dave Beach's pi factor. And that pi factor is, it always takes you about 3 times longer than you expected to do it. So keep that in mind in your planning. And the second time you do things, it'll take half as long, and so on. So that's how you manage yourself. Thursday, we're going to hear from Debbie Kenny. She's an OT. Okay. And she's going to bring in some of her users who are people who have had stroke and a bunch of low-tech equipment. And so you'll see another side of things. Today we're going to have Gail Curtis talk. Gail and I and Debbie Kenny all worked at the VA, so I've known each other for too long, probably. So right now we'll take a little bit of a break, maybe 5 minutes or so. Sign the attendance form if you haven't already. Pick up an evaluation form if you don't have one. You can sign up if you're a team or want to talk to me about something. Here's the Meet with Dave sign-up sheet. And people who are community members, if they don't already get my newsletter, this is where to sign up just once in your lifetime. Okay, you're on break. No, leave it go. All right. Yeah. No. Well, I said it as well, no, I didn't want to say that. Hey, Rick, you're wrong. Dogma. Right? This is not a matter of dogma. Dogma and doctrine, right?
Oh, yeah. Yes, hi. Come on in.
Okay, we'll get started again.
No water.
Okay, I'd like to introduce you to Gail Curtis. He's a design consultant in the Bay Area. He specializes in user interface architecture and design strategy for online ventures and interactive products. Recently, he was the principal interaction designer at Yahoo, where he worked in the practice area in the strategic ideation and disseminated it throughout workshops in the US and Asia. At Stanford, he's taught courses in human-computer interaction and product design. Gail is a graduate of the product design program here at Stanford, so let's give Gail welcome.
Thank you. I want to mention that, yes, I mean, Dave and I have worked together for way too many years, and like you said, now I'm trying to be retired, but I'm working mostly now after working, teaching the CS 247 class. Anybody taken that class? And ME 101, anybody taken ME 101? So a few of those classes here, I've been working mostly with, volunteer and nonprofit projects and also personal art projects that kind of keep me going. And I like thinking about this and talking about this, and in fact, I notice, I find, even just this last weekend, I was working with a group at a volunteer organization and dealing with the same issues, which is how do you understand what users, really want or need, or what are they trying to do, and how important it is, and thinking about a software, because the software engineers are saying, well, if the users could just understand how we built this thing, it would be so much better. And we're saying, well, if the software engineers would just understand what the users are trying to do, that would also be better. And so kind of part of this design process is, for you guys to sort of have maybe some tools and constructs for understanding the people that you're designing for. So how many people here are actually in engineering, in some engineering program? Okay, mostly. And how many are in something else like anthropology or communications or some other non-engineering? Okay, computer science. Yeah, all right, good. So it's good. I mean, because, as engineers, we think, well, as Dave said, see, so now I'm going to basically turn upside down a lot of what Dave just said. As engineers, we're trained to think about the problem. It's all about the problem. And I remember teaching the CS247 class one year, and at the end of the quarter, this woman comes up and she says, and she was a CS undergrad, she says, I really like this class because till now I had never thought about the users. And of course, coming from a product design background, I think, well, of course that's, because she's thought about, algorithms, data structures, and all the thing and the problem. Somebody gives you a problem, you find a way to solve it. So I want to sort of turn that around a little, because when we come into, we're designing for people. We're trying to solve problems for people. And so that's kind of what need finding is about. And so that's going to say, and I'm going to apologize in advance saying I have way too many words on the slides. So feel free to ignore the words. You'll be able to get a PDF of this, even now. It's probably up there now. And so you don't need to worry about taking notes or something. So the high-level concept here is that there's sort of this yin-yang relationship between what we call the need, which we're saying, what did he say there? Need finding, I'm saying, is identifying a person's unsatisfied wishes, requirements, aspirations that are related to particular goals. So it's sort of like what the people want in relation to a goal. I got to get, I need to get into the classroom, right? So guy was here. He bangs on the door, I open the door, he comes in. So need finding is the process of, sort of understanding what do people need, but it's not just, I'm going to say, for us, it's not about, at this point, it's not about a judgment. Is that really a need, or is that just a wish? Or is that just a casual flirtation they're having with some idea? At the beginning of understanding the person, it's really important to be open and not to make that kind of judgment. Just listen to what they have to say. And so on the other side of the need yin-yang is the capability. And we are all, sitting here, we are all in some kind of an equilibrium between, we need to be in this class and to be sitting here and all that, and the capabilities that are there, which are the resources, skills, tools, systems that enable us to satisfy the need. We need to satisfy our academic requirements. We need to be sitting down, so we got a desk. We need to be able to see, so we got lights. So all these capabilities are here to sort of balance, give us equilibrium with our needs to be in this class and try to understand what's going on. So this was a concept that sort of I came upon early when I was a student, sort of explaining that, we want to understand kind of both sides of this thing, because as humans, as organisms in the middle, it's always a matter of balance and equilibrium of a system. And just to balance out this idea of context discovery, which is sort of a long-winded way of just talking about understanding that it's not just here. If we're sort of trying to understand something about the person, well, the person is always in some kind of a context. We're not trying to understand, a human dangling in a vacuum chamber someplace and say, what's going on with you? What do you need? No, everybody's always, we're in a room, we're on a floor, we got this, We got people around us or we don't have people around us. So that's important to understand that. Then the other side is, what are the assistive technologies? So that's just anything that helps to make it work. That's what I would say. So from here, then the next thing is what I call 3 things to know about needs. First thing, people have needs. Things don't have needs. You might say, my car really needs to go faster. Cars don't have needs. This chair needs to be softer, right? We're sort of used to framing it that way. I don't know, maybe to think that, so we can kind of shift the responsibility. Okay, chair, it's your responsibility, or somebody else should make this softer. When what we're really talking about is, I need a softer place to sit on, right? I need a faster car. Because then, when you talk about, okay, the person is saying, okay, I need a faster car. We probably have 20 different stories about that. Why you want a faster car? Well, I need to run my errands faster. I got to feel, I got the need for speed, right? I want to show up to everybody else on the freeway. There's all these reasons why we want to do that. That's the thing to understand. Why does somebody want a faster car? The goal is faster car, the goal is softer seat. Let's try to understand, well, what's going on with the person that may make them say that? Try to understand, is it, comfort, or is it, I can't see over that, or I have, some sores on my body. Or I just need to rest, whatever. Second thing is, define the need in experience terms. Talk about what is the experience. It's not about, we say things don't have needs, people have needs. And then you think about, well, the people have needs, try to understand what is the experience that the person is going for. Say, I need a softer chair. Well, then go a little deeper and say, well, what are experience, if you had a softer chair, what would that give you? Oh, well, I would have more comfort. The sores on my bum wouldn't bother me so much. Or if I had a softer chair, I could move around more easily. Or if I had a faster car, try to understand what is the experience that we're giving that. Because now, again, it's not about the thing, it's about the person. Because what we want to get to is the idea when need and capability are in balance, then we have this experience of satisfaction, right? When your need is met with a capability, that's what we call a satisfaction. So I get the payoff. What changes when their need is satisfied? What changes when they have the softer chair? Is the pain relieved? Are they able to think more clearly? They're less distracted? What's going on? So these are the things that we want to understand from the person. How are other people that are in their environment affected when their need is satisfied, right? Someone that has to help them stay seated or get up and down, maybe they're relieved from that because the chair is working more effectively to satisfy their needs. So this is all about, so I'm going to say, again, turning Dave's thing, this is not about the problem, or really it's just a semantic. It's about understanding the person. What's going on with the person? What's missing for them? What are they what are they going after? And what's the experience that they're looking for? So I would like to do a little 2-minute exercise here with you guys. Just write down on a paper. So think about how you got here today. And I would say from the last class. Let's say in the last hour before you came to class, how did you get here? And think in a granular way. You went through some doors, maybe you rode a bicycle, maybe you got a ride with somebody. Kind of at that level, what did you have to do to get here? If you say the goal was to be in here at class by 4:30, what did you have to do? What had to happen? What capability did you require or draw on to actually get here in the last hour or whatever it was before your last appointment, okay? And just 2 minutes, please.
You can use the back of the evaluation form if you want.
Yep. Okay, now that you have, this is not a dissertation. Now that you have some of those down, make a note of some of the things about what were the most important things that you did or had happened. What are the tools or enablers that you used? Like you had a bicycle, you got a bicycle, you had a ride or something. And what blocks or obstacles did you manage in order to make it here? Somebody stopped you on the way and wanted to have a conversation, and you did that. Or you had a flat tire, or, I don't know, maybe you didn't have any blocks today. Okay. All right. Somebody want to comment about their experience doing this? Oh, don't do that, or I think you're raising your hand. Okay. Yes, please. Okay, actually, that's important. That's a good observation to have. Actually, kind of one reason for doing this exercise now, which is that there's so many things we take for granted that we do every day, whereas a person with some kind of limited ability, they're dealing with the things we take for granted, on a very granular level more often than we are. And it's really helpful to sort of be able to kind of tune in and maybe talk about what's going on at that granular level. And we'll be doing a longer exercise like this a bit later, but I just wanted to kind of give you everybody had a little first-hand experience with how do you think about those things, and reflecting upon your own personal experience with that. Let's see what's next. Okay, so here's the four main concepts. This is all I'm doing. I'm sort of giving a little conceptual framework for how to think about need. We're sort of asking the goals. What does the person want to do, and what's important about the way they do it? And this is part of this is around like, I want to drive fast. Okay. Now, if we say that the problem is to drive fast, boy, we could think about all kinds of cars or vehicles, or maybe just maglev devices or something we could do to drive fast. But then we think, oh, that's frivolous. Why am I'm in the wrong class. This is not, fast vehicle design. I want to do something that helps people. So then this is the other side of this, and I'm calling this values. What's important about driving fast and the way you drive fast? I want to go fast and be comfortable. I want to go fast but save gas, right? I want to help the planet. I want to go fast and be safe. I want to go fast and look sharp, be cool. I want to go fast and wipe out everybody else on the freeway. All these things are, you might say, well, these are all kind of like secondary goals, right? Go fast, be cool. If we're talking to somebody and you want to go fast, and maybe it's not go fast. I want to get through the door, right? I want to get to the seat in the movie quickly, right? The goal. So we don't need to make a judgment. Again, judgment is kind of a touchy word, right? Let's try to understand, what do they want to do, but also what is it about the way they do it, the way they want to accomplish the goal that's important. They want to be high profile, they want to be safe, they want to be low profile, they want to be comfortable. All these things are important to understand because those are things that actually help you kind of shape a solution. Then on the other side, we're looking at, what capabilities are available to the person or in their environment to solve the problem. And then on the other side, what blocks are there? Obstacles, limitations they're at work in the situation. Maybe it's not something to do with them personally, but they're just stairs. Person's in a chair, there's stairs. It's not their problem. Somebody didn't provide, there was no other way around it. So our goal in the kind of need-finding process, so we say, well, understanding the problem, and I'm going to say understanding the person. The person's need is to get a handle on these four things. That is, what are they trying to do, in a given situation? Now, Dave said he's already picked the problems, which means, okay, I don't know what some of those are, but there may be something like, a hearing assist thing, or a visual augmentation, or a mobility assist. So there, that sort of kind of looks at what sector you're living in, but then you want to sort of look, okay, what is the person trying to do? What do they want to achieve? What's important to them about the mobility they're looking for? I mean, we've had, so we have a friend that was designing, he wanted to have basically competitive bicycle racing. And he was involved in designing this parabike. He was paraplegic himself, and he designed this thing, this arm-powered two-wheel bicycle that was, extremely fast and highly competitive. And this was kind of his mindset, and also there were a lot of people like that. Sort of like, look at wheelchair basketball. People, just because they're in a wheelchair doesn't mean they want to play sports. They want to be competitive. They want to win. They want to have excitement. They want to get cheered by the crowd. All these things are kind of part of life, right? So how to enable that? So one thing is to understand this. What is the person trying to do or get or have, and not make a judgment about, well, this is a need, this is the need, and these are just frivolous add-ons. So in the process of our research or discovery, need finding, let's get a picture of all those things. And because we want to, ideally we satisfy, on many different levels. And then the other side is to understand what are the capabilities they have, and what are the obstacles or blocks in the way. What's this? Okay, how do we do this? Interview, observation, and prototype. So the basic thing is we talk to people. We sit down with people, we talk to them, we start asking them questions. So let's say, again, our problem is defined. Maybe there are some people, the users may be defined there. But still, isn't it the first rule for engineering design, challenge the problem as given, right? Somebody says, well, I've defined the problem for you. Well, let me just see what's really going on there. What does the person have to say? Maybe there's something that the person that defined this problem missed about the person that has the need or the requirement. So let's talk to people and ask some questions about what are they trying to do? What's important about that? When you get there, what is going to be the important thing to have or do? Why is that good? Who else is doing that? Who is working with you? So the second one is observation. Watch what people do. So probably everybody that's on the project list, they're doing something right now. They're looking for a better solution. Well, what are they doing now? Watch what they do. It's sort of like this person.
Abby.
She has a dog. She has a dog, a companion that helps her.
That one died. She
Hey. Sorry, we can't. Okay, resurrect my dog. Okay, sorry, we can't do that. Or we look at things that don't work, right? She has things that doesn't work. So make an observation, because what happens is, well, I've got this dog, you have to go shopping, right? But then when you look and see, well, yeah, and there's all kinds of other people out there that help her in the shopping world, and there's other dogs that the dog relates to, and there's a whole world of stuff going on. That's important to know about, because any problem solution you're coming up with is going to need to take those things into account. And then the third thing is then to prototype. So this will be important, and Dave will kind of sound you on this about get something visible early. Make something early that you can try out. And I'm going to invoke Boyle's law here. You know about that. So there's the Boyle's law in physics that has something to do with gas pressure and temperature. But there's the other Boyle's law, which is sort of attributed to Denny Boyle, who is actually a graduate of the design program here. And he's one of the principals at IDEO. His law is never go to a meeting without a prototype. And it's like, otherwise you go to a meeting and you're just arm waving, it's going to do this, or we're so late because of this. Always make something you can break so that all the discussion is around a real thing. No matter how simple or flaky or whatever it is, people are talking about something, and just the fact of building that stupid thing is going to help give you more understanding and help your idea go forward. I know I got trouble when I was teaching the 247 class. We used to have, like, every class, people had to come in with something, even if it was a thing. Think about how you would test this, and come in and prepare to tell people at your table what that is. Even if only 20 minutes of thinking about something, that just the act of putting your attention on it moves things forward. So once we do this need finding thing, and then of course we have the critical thinking part, which is, you all know about that. Here at Stanford, we get these ideas. Think about facts, assumptions, and inferences. Okay, this is part of, you're going to talk to people, you're going to make note of what they say, and you're going to try and make sense. Okay, what does this mean? What does this mean as far as what I should do? So then you have to kind of put on your critical thinking hat and kind of make sense of it. And then, of course, we have the design thinking process, which is Dave outlined, that we're going to ideate lots of prototypes, sketch something, and iterate. And that will keep going on until we run out of time. That's the real design process, right? You just keep doing that until you're out of time. So now, I want to just focus now, because we're we'll run out of time, about interviewing. The main thing about interviewing is try to understand, first of all, don't ask leading questions. Saying, well, just like we did. What did you do to get to class today? And instead of, well, how long did it take you? Or instead of asking, how long did it take you? What bike route did you use? Did you have a friend? Were you riding a bike? Don't ask those questions because those are sort of leading them into just try to make the questions as open-ended as possible and look at their language, their concept, how are they thinking about it and what are they doing? Then to the extent that's possible, ask them to show something about it. And one thing that's really helpful is if you have if you go to an interview with someone, have a piece of paper and a pencil or a marker there that they can use, or maybe even help them. Oh, you mean it was like this? And let them say, no, it was like this, right? So if you have the means in front of them to do something, because that itself, as we know, is sort of like a right brain, left brain thing, then you let another part of their cognition and imagination come into play to tell more of the story. Now, good things about this is we get more information from the person directly, from the user directly, and we understand their perspective, and it's good about it. The minuses, of course, is that it's very time and skill intensive. You sit down with somebody, it's going to be hard for it to be like less than half an hour or an hour before you will feel like you're satisfied. You've satisfied your needs to learn. We also need to be careful about, they said they didn't like green things. Okay, there should never be a green thing. We're tempted to generalize about things. And also, what people say is often different from what they do, which is why, we have the second thing on the bear about observation. So with observation, you want to look at what people are actually doing and how they're actually doing it. So this is if you have a connection with somebody, if you're working with a client, or whoever, there's someone. All the projects have a sponsor or a person. There's a human that's connected with them, right? These aren't just abstract ideas that you're trying to solve in the abstract. Try to talk to them and say, well, can you show me? Let's see how you're doing it now. And here's where you want to maybe have a critical eye and be thorough. See, well, I noticed that when you went up this way, you grabbed it on this side and not on that side. What was going on with that? So try to understand not only what the mechanics of what they're doing, but kind of like, is it because, well, this hand isn't as strong as this, so I have to do that. Or, I don't know, I could have done it that way. Until you ask, you don't know. Try to find a situation that you're approximating the design target, whatever you're doing. Immerse yourself in the context. Maybe shadow, record, and review. So this, if they're comfortable with it, if the situation is, amenable, you have to decide, you have to see if they're comfortable with, walk around with them and maybe do a little video recording of, this person maybe getting on and off the bus. You're just walking with them. You don't try to interrogate them while they're doing it. Maybe you record it. You record it, maybe, and then you sit down with them later and says, okay, here's what I saw when you were getting on the bus. What was happening when you were doing that? Why did you do this one rather than that one? So the goal here is to collect kind of like this all is a kind of a rich description of this, that even you may not notice some things at the first, but you can come back later and say, let's look again at that video of her getting on the bus and see how she was doing it. So the thing to look here for, what are the resources that are used? Maybe the dog isn't doing so much. But when you look at the video again, you see that, well, maybe she is. And what are the hindrances that get in the way? And again, sometimes the person has adapted so well that you don't even notice that they set this obstacle aside and they went that and they found a way to just breeze past that. So this is where, you take your slow motion mental view of that and try to understand it and talk to them about what's going on with that. How did that happen? Okay. All right, we're just right on time. So we want to do a more extensive exercise of the thing we just did. But in the small groups, let's say 2 to 4. And the idea is that if it's a group of 4, one of you will actually be the user. And if I see that, I'm imagining that there are quite a few community people here today that might be agreeable to this. Sit with, three of you as students sit with a community person and talk to them about, ask them the same question. What did it take for you to get here to class, by 4:30 or so today? What were the, obstacles? What tools did you use? What was your goal about how you wanted to do it? And kind of ask the same questions that you were thinking about or that I was provoking to you when you did it for yourself, but talk to that other person and see how can you find out more? Any question about that? So I suggest now just let's take about 5 minutes. People kind of either turn around and just make a group among yourselves, or maybe, how many community members here are willing to be subjects, participants, willing to talk? Yeah, okay. So we have people here willing to talk. So, and I think, 3 or 4 or even 5 people could talk to one person, and it can be very useful. Okay? So stand up now and kind of reorganize yourself to do this. And we will do this we'll have 15 minutes, okay? Okay, no bell, huh? Ding, 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 ding.
Attention. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for participating in the exercise. We just want to finish up now.
So I would just like to ask maybe one or two people to volunteer, sort of like what, somebody wants to volunteer an interesting insight that you had from doing that exercise, just your personal
Be a
experience.
student or a community member.
Yeah. Somebody want to offer? Or do I have to pick on somebody?
Pick on Tony.
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 Well, because my profession is your profession, also a product designer,
Right?
I maybe kind of went through my journey a little bit quickly, because I've done it a lot. But, as it went on, as it like progressed, it happened a little bit more, they got more engaged.
So, okay, so I'm going to make an observation here that, you know, this process is not something that we do every day, and that, you know, there are people actually that do this kind of stuff for a living, and they come in and they know what to do. I mean, I used to work with those people. But it takes a while to sort of warm up and also to tune in the dynamics between the person you're talking to and you are, whatever. It takes time to do that. So the message that I want to say is, you will need to try to do this with the person that you're designing for. Don't give up if the first, you know, interviews or conversations are a little stiff or awkward, because it takes time, a little time to tune in. Part of the process is sort of tuning into how is that person, remember we're trying to understand the person, how is that person thinking about and doing that. And as much as Dave says, you know, engineers don't have empathy, I believe we can learn how to try to understand what is this person thinking and where are they coming from. And it may take a few sessions to do that. So be patient with that. You want to add anything onto that, Tony? No.
I think maybe when I was telling them about how I come here a little early because I need to find a parking spot that will work for me, and I described how my ramp came out the side, and I like it with the stripes area to be on the driver's side, so it's not just any old handicap parking. I look for one that will really work, and I think maybe that surprised them a little bit.
Okay, good. Okay, one other person.
A student this time.
A student. Volunteer, please. Everybody's looking away. You can talk. Your name, please.
Tyler.
Tyler.
So I was the interviewee in this instance, and one of the things that we really focused on, we were trying to get at the heart of like some particular aspect of my day, because it felt like a very normal day to me, and we ended up going down a tangent of talking about, I mentioned that I go to work, and I'm like, well, what do you do for work? I'm a tour guide, so that kind of took its own form of story, questions about what that would entail, and was physically the need to walk backwards and be able to project her voice, look to a large group of people. She can't always use a microphone, so stuff like that was a large part of the conversation we had. Also, just in terms of my transportation, I skate to get around, so that's another whole point of my day that I think I don't really think about. But going through little things like that, detail, definitely made me realize there, kind of like I was saying earlier, there are a lot more moving parts, I guess, to the things that I write off because I do them so often.
Good. So I think that's a good closing point, that the goal of the need finding thing is to really to understand the moving parts that we take for granted, or even the person that we're talking to takes for granted. How, you know, find way to elicit, listen, and make note. Because then this comes back to when Dave is talking about, I've given you the problem, Well, you're really understanding, what's kind of behind the problem from the user's point of view. And because then that helps you, when you start coming up with draft solutions, that helps you kind of understand, how is this working for the person? Rather than, how is it satisfying the problem as stated in the document? And the two things kind of then come together. Okay?
Okay, we should thank Gail for his...
Thank you. And I'm going to...
I just want to add one more thing. For students who are working on team projects, it's really important for you to form the team, select the projects, and send them to me. Most of the projects only support one team, so make your best effort to get those teams to me by the end of the week. If you have any questions about the projects, let me know. If you have anything else that concerns you, please email. Thank you so much. Minute and a half early.
Yeah.